Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we have a top 10 for you. Woo! This is our top 10 favorite one-word games. No thes.
That's right. We were very strict. If there was a game that was like Libertalia, which is one word, Winds of Galecrest, axed it.
Not that one. Just one word.
Also, for me personally, my favorite designer is Stefan Feld. And for whatever reason, a lot of his games have one word.
One.
So I limited myself to one Stefan Feld game, just to make the list more interesting.
I did not do that.
Yeah, we just want to talk about games that have one word in the title, but that'll be fun to kind of highlight some of these games that maybe we don't always talk about, but it'd be a fun list.
All right, and I will kick it off because why not? I like
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Why, thank you. Thank you so much. So my number 10 is Pendulum. So this can either be a real-time game or a game where only you get certain actions on every turn. This is a really fun game that I like. I actually like it when you play real-time with the sand timer. I know that's not like a lot of people's favorite, but I enjoy that because then people make mistakes and I can benefit off of that. So my number 10 is Pendulum.
I like it too, but I like it with the slower version, which nobody ever talks about.
Yeah.
All right, my number 10, this is Onitama. This is a two-player game. It feels a lot like chess. There's a 5x5 grid, and on this board, you are using these pre-programmed cards to move your people around. And it's really great because everything's open information. You can see everything. You can see what the cards that your opponent has. You can see the cards that you have. You move your piece, but then the piece that you use to move, the card that you use to move your guy, you shuffle over, and now that your opponent has it. So you're constantly, sifting around the cards. They're always interchanging. So that way, it's just a really, really wild game. But it's all still open information. You see what the possibilities are, anyways, at any given time. It plays really, really quickly, and it's a great two-player game.
My number 9 is Aquasphere. We started the Feld early.
You're cracking the Feld seal.
I totally am. So Aquasphere is this really fun game where you are like under the sea and you're trying to learn all this stuff, but there's all these octopi that keep getting in your submarine, so you have to deal with them. And in typical Feld fashion, if you don't deal with things, and you get like really hit with those negative points. But one of the things that's really fun about this game is the fact that it has that module board. So every time you set it up, it's going to be slightly different than the other times that you've played it. So my number 9 was Aquasphere.
My number 9 is Archipelago, and I might be pronouncing that wrong. I'm not sure. I think that's probably the best one I've done yet.
I think so.
You are building, basically, collectively, with all the players, this series of islands, these archipelagos. But you're also trying to create this kind of overall economy. You are buying and trading goods. It's got this, this whole importing and exporting, but also they're local and, long range. There's this big, crazy economic thing going on. But also, you can, as you build out these islands, you can farm, you can fish, you can build buildings. But the best part of all this, the most interesting part about this game is that everyone at the beginning of the game gets dealt a card. And on it, there's 2 pieces of information. A secret scoring mechanism that only pertains to you. And then the other half of it is this end game condition that only applies to you. I mean, it applies to everyone, but only you know about it. So you might be slowly, secretly building up towards this end game condition, and everybody else is too. But you don't actually, necessarily fulfill the end game conditions until you're pretty sure you're in a good position to win. And so you kind of have to watch everybody else, see what they're doing, in order to make sure that you get your optimal scoring situation by the end of it all.
And if you follow us on Instagram, you've seen pictures of this game recently. So follow us on Instagram so you can see the games we play. My number 8 is Moonrakers. So this is a deck building game, but you're also trying to complete missions. The first person to reach 10 points wins. The thing that's really interesting about this game is that you kind of need other people in order to complete these missions. So sometimes you have to barter with what you're going to do, who's going to get what prizes or whatnot for the game. I just really like it. I can see the picture, the artwork in my head because the coloring of this game and the artwork on this game I thought was perfect for the theme of this game. Caveat, I wouldn't play it 2 players. It plays better at a higher player count. So I'm just putting that out there.
All right, my number 8, I'm going to talk about Witchstone. This is a Reiner Knizia game, and he is known for usually very streamlined, very simple games that are mathematically very satisfying and smooth. This is a little bit more on the bulky side of things. This is like a heavier Euro, which I really digged. I really dug.
Dig dug. dog.
This is a really fun game for me. What you're doing is you have these domino style pieces that you are placing on your board. They have 2 halves to them, and when you place them, you can place them so they're touching other pieces of the board of your other dominoes that you've placed. And the more things that it's touching of the same kind, the more strong the action is. So you're gonna get 2 actions, and if it's touching 5 other of that same symbol and 2 other of that same symbol, you're gonna get a strength of 6 and 3, or whatever the case is. So it's really, really fun to kind of plan that out and map out your board. So when you do fire off your actions, you're going to get maximum benefit out of them. What a cool game. I really like Witchstone.
All right. My number 7 is Trajan.
Another Feld?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Waiting for you to say something. So this is a game where you have all these workers, or you have this rondelle, and that's how you determine what actions you take.
Mancala?
What did I say?
Rondelle.
I meant...
They're associated. It's fine.
I meant
it's
Moncala.
Fine. They're like cousins. They're like cousins.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. I totally misspoke. So it's really cool because you're moving these pieces around, and wherever you land is the action that you get to take on the board. But you have to like plan ahead to be able to do stuff where you can get multiple actions, or you can place things on certain things so you can do on the place where you land, so you can do extra stuff. And this is a game that for some reason, like I always peter out 3/4 through. Like I can plan ahead and move all my pieces so they land in certain ways so I can get certain stuff, and then like, 75% through the game I'm like, I'm just moving these things around and I hope good stuff happens. Like I always like get to that point and I'm like, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, but you still usually end up doing pretty good.
So like there's this weird thing with Trajan. I almost always get second place. If we're playing 2-player, I get last place. If we're playing 4-player, I get second place. I like routinely get second place in this game. It's so weird.
All right, well, my number 7 is higher on someone else's list, and so I'm just going to sit back and see where she puts it on her spectrum.
Yeah. My number 6 is Noblemen, and oh my gosh, this game is so much fun. We almost got rid of it, right? Because it's a 3+ player game, so we unfortunately just don't get those to the table as much. And we did get it out like a couple of months ago, and we're like, why have we not been playing this game? Because it's 3+ players. But it is so much fun. One of the things that's interesting about this game is it has this like, player board, so nobody sees what's behind your player mat, but you have like these things that you insert, and you're keeping on taking out and inserting like these different noble titles all the time, and there's like dudes and chicks, so that's kind of like, it has nothing really to do with the gameplay outside of the special things, but I like that little aspect of it. So that is Noblemen.
All right, so my number 6 is a game called Cities. This is a really simple tile-laying game. Everyone has the exact same tiles in their little grouping. One person's going to shuffle up the tiles, and they're going to deal out some tiles, and then we're all, as the other players, are going to get out those exact same tiles. This is a true multiplayer solitaire game in the truest sense. I mean, you are literally just building your own city. No one else can interfere with you in any way. In fact, you all have the exact same materials, and you can build the exact same way if you want to. But usually you don't. You end up diverging, and everybody has a very different city when it's all done. But you can. So one person's calling out, okay, number 16, and everybody grabs their 16 tile, puts it out there, trying to maximize your scoring capabilities. It goes by. This is a 5-minute game, 10-minute game tops. You play with, unlimited number of players based off of how many sets of tiles you have. Really, really simple, great tile laying game that you can just knock out really quickly. And there's like more and more complicated rule sets too, so you're more familiar. You can play like the higher end rule set, which is where I like to play. And it's really, really fun. Cities.
Yeah. Some people think it's fun. My number 5 is...
Those people are awesome.
Yeah, the people who don't think it's fun, they are also awesome. So
I didn't say they weren't.
My number 5, Ryan, is Pandemic. This is just like a game that just gets on so many lists. It's a great game. It's like co-op, you versus the board, all these diseases are coming out, and you're trying to work together to mitigate all of that, make sure that outbreaks don't happen. It's just choice. Yeah,
this is one that we have been loving in various forms for like a decade.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably one of the first 5-10 games in our collection. Yeah, I mean, we've had it since the beginning of our gaming career as a couple.
That might be a classic, but what's even more classic-ier is Acquire. And that's my number 5, Acquire.
Classic year.
Yes. This game has seen a million different iterations over time. But honestly, one of the best versions is it has like this raised board where you're like laying these pieces out there. it's hard to describe without looking at it, but this is a kind of a hotel stock game, I guess, is how you describe it. You're getting as many stocks as possible. You're evaluating these stocks higher and lower and selling them and buying them at different times, trying to get the most amount of money. Acquire is beautiful in its simplicity, but also just full of really, really challenging choices to make sure you make the most amount of money. This has stood the test of time, as proven by the fact that it's been reprinted a million times. What a great game, Acquire.
My number 4 was lower on Ryan's list, and that is Wavelength. Oh my gosh, this game is so much fun. So in this game, there's a spectrum, and the spectrum can be any. My favorite example is when we were playing a game, the spectrum was commerce to art. So it's this huge spectrum. You spin this dial and it lands somewhere on the spectrum, but only the person who's giving the clue know where it lands, and it lands at random. And so then you give a clue to try and get your people to guess where on the spectrum that lies. And so I gave the clue an award-winning movie on where that landed on the spectrum. And so then they're, fighting about, well, I think it's this, but what about this? And it's so much fun. One of the things that I love about Wavelength is that you will, every time you play this game, you will come away with a story. You're just going to. Fluffy seals. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
remember?
yes.
Yeah. Like, you just come away with with a story. Or baby seals. You just come away with a story with this. And it almost always brings about discussion as well, which is also just a really, really fun thing that happens with this game.
But also, as a result of that, be careful who you play this with. You maybe want to sort through the cards a little bit, figure out ones that might not trigger, people who have opposite viewpoints as you. Make sure that you have some kind of arguments.
If you just like to stir the pot, like, this is the game to bring.
Yes, but there is 2 sets of cards. One is like the easy set, where it's pretty much just opposites. Hot to cold.
Yeah.
Like sharp to smooth or whatever, and things like that. But then you have like the weirder cards that are much more enjoyable and easier.
Like art to commerce.
Yeah, things like that are just so much fun to argue. And, well, it could be this, from legal to illegal. And you get somewhere in the middle. You have to be like,
it's either legal or illegal. There is no middle.
How would I get them to say that's like slightly illegal? Yeah. Like, what is that? What kind of clue could I give for that? Like, I just love things like that. This is such a great game. Like Bethany said, tons of stories every time. All right, so my number 4 is Gizmos. I love engine building games, and this might be one of the purest, most simple version of engine building games. It's like this big, cool contraption that has full of marbles. You're going to pick marbles out, and you use those marbles to buy cards, which are additions to your engine. And you're going to it says, like, when you take a red marble, you get to get an extra random marble. And then when you build some more cards that say, okay, well, when you kick a random marble, you get to build a card or whatever. So then you have this system where by grabbing one thing, it sets off this chain reaction that means you get to do a whole bunch of other cool stuff. And you're trying to maximize this engine as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and longer and longer and longer. This is a really, really satisfying game. Even if you don't score well, you feel like you've made something really, really fun and cool. It's customized to you. So it's very satisfying in that way.
All right. My number 3, I've done this like on every single one. All right. My number 3 is one of like the meanest, most gentle games you will ever play.
Just like you.
And that is Photosynthesis. This game, you are trying to grow your trees and have them go through a full cycle. So they start as a seed, eventually they get tall, and then they die. And then you collect points in the different stages. You get these sun points for all of that. This game, you block each other's sunlight, so you make it to where other players can't get any points. But like, it looks cool. You should definitely check out our review when we did the expansion, because with the expansion, Under the Moonlight, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, so check out that video, because it's just like one of the most photogenic games that exist.
Under the Moonlight.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, well, my number 3 is once again higher on someone else's list, so I'll just shuffle my cards, wait for her turn to get over with.
I'm the someone. My number 2 is Quarriors. Gosh, this game is so much fun. This game, you are drafting, it's a dice building game, or bag building game, and you're drafting these dice, and you like shake them in the bag, and you roll the dice, and you do stuff. But what's great about this game is the die that you're drafting, or the dice that you're drafting, there's all these cards associated with what the different sides of that dice mean. But you could totally play this game with somebody who doesn't even want to read that, and they can just do like the typical sides of the dice where nothing fun happened. But I just think this game is so much fun. It's also one of the first ones we owned in our collection. We played it all the time. We don't play it nearly as much now anymore, but this is a game we played like all the time. And I really like just throwing all those dice and seeing there's just so many dice in this game. So many dice.
Maximum dice.
Maximum dice. Quarriors! You have to say it like that, too.
Yeah, there is an exclamation point. It's mandatory.
Yeah, and the rulebook has a bunch of cue words everywhere.
Yeah, it's a very funny rulebook.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 2, I did the same thing you. I'm going to talk about a Stefan Feld game, finally.
You did it!
I was wearing, my patience was wearing thin.
Yeah.
I can't only go like 5 minutes without talking about Stefan Feld.
Well,
before I get like jittery.
I think you did longer. You did good. You did really good.
So, talking about Luna. This is probably my favorite Stefan Feld game overall, including all the ones that have more than one word in the title. But Luna, my gosh, it's another game that is very, very pure. There's all the information is out there at the beginning of the game. There's no randomness. There's no dice. There's no cards.
Perfect information.
It's perfect information.
Yeah.
Everything that can happen, you can see before you do it. You have these little guys. They're running around the board. They're trying to build shrines. They're trying to recruit people into their little kind of cult thing. They are swimming around to different islands, building, taking these tiles. They're building. They're trying to get into the center island where they can join the actual main temple. There's kind of an area control battle that happens inside the temple. I wish it were like I envisioned them like boxing and stuff, but they're also like these old like monks or something. But I don't know. That's just what I envision in my head. But really, they're using books. They're using knowledge.
Bam, bam, like that.
Yes. So it's a great game. It's very, very. The rules are easy, but it's very, very challenging to do well in this game, especially with someone who knows what they're doing. Because like me playing it a lot, like. I can see the board, see the full situation, and know, okay, this is what they could do on their turn, this is what they could do on their turn. Or someone new to it might just be like, I'm going to make some new guys here, or whatever.
Or somebody who's not as new to it may also do that when they're playing as well.
Yeah, so it's a game that definitely you have to be a little bit more familiar with to play competitively. Yeah. But what a great game. My gosh, Luna, really, really fun. And my brother-in-law just got me the deluxe edition, and the bits are choice.
Choice. That's the second time we use that in this video.
Choice?
I think so.
This whole video is choice.
We've made it, guys. We finally made it to our number 1. But we have to go like this. So, we made it to our number 1. Okay, so my number 1 was lower on somebody else's list. Like, not that low. Yeah, it was your 3. And that is Dominion. This is like the deck builder, right? You just start with a smaller set of cards. You're constantly trying to buy better cards to put into your deck, but eventually it's points that wins at the end of the game, so you want to get those estates and those providences, but they don't do anything when they're in your hand, so you have to be really strategic when you buy them. This is also a game that we've had really early on in our collection that's just
when we were like early on in our collection, we're like, we're only going to buy games that have one word.
Yeah, that's exactly, we sat down at the kitchen table in our apartment, and we're like, we can only buy these games.
We only have so much room on our shelf for one word per game.
One word. Yeah. That's not at all what happened. But this game is great, wonderful. We have all but the last 2 expansions.
Yeah,
but we can't talk about those because those are more than one word.
Yeah, there comes a point with the expansion. You want the expansions because they add so much cool variety. But you don't really need them either.
You don't need it.
And there comes this point where like you haven't played all the previous expansions unless you're playing Dominion 10 times a day. You're never going to go through it all to where you need every single solitaire expansion.
We keep on talking about wanting to do like a Dominion tournament for fun, not like an actual sanctioned tournament.
I've done some of those though, and they're really fun. And some players are like really good.
They're like super intense. I only did one once years ago at Gen Con, and it was like not fun. I
had a lot of fun.
The people that I was playing with were just like all about the competition, I guess.
And not the fun.
Yeah, they took the fun out of it. It was just like, it's Dominion. It's a wonderful game. Why do you look so grumpy?
Yeah, what a great game. I agree. I talked about how I love engine building in Gizmos. And this is the same feeling I get when I play Dominion. I'm trying to turn this engine, make it streamlined, smooth, so I can crank out points by the end of the game. Love it. All right, so my number 1, I'm going to talk about Silverton. early on, I loved train games. We played, 18XX games, the Crayon Rails games, obviously Ticket to Ride. Any of those kinds of route building games or stock games or combining the two, I loved them. And Silverton, to me, is the best of the best. In this game, you're building routes, and there's snow routes and routes that you can't fulfill during snow, which is really, really fun. You get to these towns that are mining towns, and they are mining, and you roll dice to determine how much you're going to get out of these mines. And sometimes you go to the mine and it's all out of silver, it's all out of gold, or it's all out of whatever it is, and that's really, really interesting too. It's an interesting mechanic. It's got that stock price kind of a thing going on, where then all these goods that you've mined for now have prices at various towns. So you want to deliver your lumber over here to one part of the board. But you know what? Coal has a really great price over on this other part of the board. So you want to deliver them to different places, try to get the most amount of points. Silverton, it's a long one. It's a really,
What does it say on the back?
It says something like 2 to 9 hours.
Yeah.
What it's referring to is like there's different, like a short, medium, and a long mode of the game. But
yeah, but you don't know that when you're first
when
looking at it.
When you're buying the game, or
2 to 9 hours.
I might be here for either 2 or 9 hours.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I've never ever played even a super long game that lasted 8 hours. I've never played one of those games and not walked away feeling incredibly satisfied. Yeah. This is just primo game for me.
All right, everybody. We want to know, what is your favorite one-word game? Just one. You can't use
not the game just one.
Because that has 2 words in it. We want to know. We love hearing from you. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Until then, make sure to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. And you can find us in all the places. On TikTok, we are Ryan and Bethany. On Facebook, we're Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany. And on Twitter, we are Ryan and Bethany 1.
You guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.